Watch your thinking. Watch your thinking. As Robert said, we've been moving through the Science of Mind textbook. There's an assigned passage for each day if you choose to follow along. It's listed in the front of the textbook. We also have copies of those, and today's was quite an interesting topic to enter into. In my experience, I have been very close to that. Probably closer than I would have chosen had I known the experience I was about to go through. My daughter was born like at 2 a.m. in the morning in a small apartment in the bathroom with just her mother, myself, and her. So I was there, and I experienced this. And I must say, in hindsight, to be present in that moment of the miracle is beyond description. Words cannot explain the connection of love that was created for me in that very moment. I had another opportunity some 20 years later when my daughter was having her first child. Her husband was out to sea, and the birth was taking place at the Navy Hospital in San Diego. And so when I got the call, I rushed down there. And as I entered into the department, whatever that was, and I said, I'm looking for so and so. I'm the father. They thought I was the father of the child. I was the father of the one that was giving birth. And so I walked in right as my grandson was being delivered, and the nurse ushered me in and said, "Here's the father," and the doctor took the baby and gave it to me. It's like, here. I'm like, why me? But again, the connection, the love in that moment of that miracle that's happening. And I believe that someplace, somewhere in this reading, that Ernest Holmes was trying to speak about the creative process. That there is a creative process in the universe that is working all the time. Whether we are aware or conscious or influencing it does not matter, because it is something greater, it is something beyond the individual. It is the creative process that brings about the entire manifest physical universe and then beyond. And it's not something that we can limit, for it is unlimitless. It is not something that we can hinder or really deny. For if this idea of spirit or God, as it has an idea in the creative process, through the law, the universal law, this idea will come into manifestation, will come into the physical universe. Now, we might delay it, and we might reject it, and we might hold it off for some time in our resistance, but if there is an idea from the mind of God, it will come about. You cannot stop it. There is no way that we can stop the creative process. It is going to happen. I say this because as I think about the creation of the physical universe as we know it, as science has been so diligently trying to identify and discover and break down to the smallest particle that it could find, to try to figure out how it was that this came about. This was an idea in the mind of God. long before humans ever showed up. We had nothing to do with this. The physical universe came into existence through this thing called the creative process. And we are a part of that. We are a part of how it is unfolding and revealing itself in order to discover the greatest idea that is potentially there, but we did not create it. We might be able to manipulate and influence and work around some material in order to put it into a different form, into a different creative object. But the very essence of it, that minute particle, beyond what science has even discovered, is not something that we can create. It has already been created. In the mind of God, everything that is has already been created in the potential. Somewhere in quantum physics, as long as Robert brought it up, there is a statement that says something to the effect that all things are already in the potential. When and where and how they show up often has to do with who is the observer. For they know that there's a wave of energy that's happening, and it can look like a particle or it can look like a wave, but it depends upon the observer. What you are looking for is where you are looking from, and that's what you're going to see. But you didn't create it. It was already there. You can manipulate it, as science is doing in so many things. We are manipulating the very essence and energy that is already here, but we did not create it. This is the creative process. This is what we are bringing about in this evolution of humankind in this world today. It is my belief that the world is just fine without us. And if we're not careful, we will be eliminated. And the world will continue on in its right and perfect way because it is the idea of God that it is to be so. Our choice is to determine if we want to recognize that we are a part of this and that we have some influence over it, some influence over our own life and how we interact with the rest of the physical universe. And we do that through our mind. That is the nature of who we are. It is our mind, it is our consciousness, it is our thinking. Watch what you are thinking. And it's more than just the words that you are thinking, it's the pattern of your thinking. If you want, try this experiment. As you go out one day, begin to arrange your thoughts so that everything is good. Everything you see is good. Everything you experience is good. Even that which doesn't look like it's good, you see it and you begin to think of it as good. Last week I spoke about the idea of how we approach challenge in our life. For in the middle of challenge there's a lot of L. And if you take the L out of challenge, what is left is change. And if you approach a challenge and you look at it and say, here is a gift. And in this challenge, there is a gift for me. What is that gift? And then the second step is that you begin to understand, you begin to process, what is the learning that I'm getting out of this challenge? Because every challenge has a learning to it. There's something there for you to learn. if you're not aware of what the learning is, if you're not paying attention, if you're not trying to bring that in,